It's Heather again from the Nature Center. Thank you for joining us for the virtual Hummingbird celebration, a partnership between Warner Park Nature Center, Metro Parks of Nashville, Davidson County, and Friends of Warner Parks. I want to introduce my friend Fred Moore from Birmingham, Alabama. Now this time he's going to talk about something different. Why do we band birds? This is very exciting because he's talking about this from Birmingham. But here at the Nature Center, our bird information research and data team actually have the same mission of why they are banding birds here at the Nature Center. The goal that we share is to ensure the long-term viability and conservation of birds. And even with a fairly common and easily viewed species like the hummingbird, there's still so much to learn about them. And you probably learned more about them today by watching many of our other videos. For most birds, the gap in our understanding is during migration, and that's what you're witnessing right now at your feeders, is hummingbird migration, when birds are moving from their summer breeding grounds to their winter grounds. That's why our hummingbird research is focused on migration here in Middle Tennessee from late July through mid-September for hummingbirds. Now, we also have a fall migration bird study as well as a spring migration bird study. And yes, even in the summertime, our Monitoring Avian Productivity and Survivorship study, also called MAPS, is monitoring the viability and productivity of birds even in the summer. So we have year-round studies here at the Nature Center. I am so excited to introduce you to Fred. He was one of the people that taught me to band hummingbirds, and I'm so excited for you to hear what he has to say.
Hi, I'm Fred Moore. I'm a veteran bird bander of about 25 years, and I often get questions asked of me, and I wanted to try to answer one of those for you today. The question is, why do we band birds? And that question has several answers, all related to the health and welfare of the birds. It's not for the people that are doing it, but it's for the birds. One of the things that we learn from banding birds is the longevity of the birds. If we band a bird, it's caught several times henceforth at either the same banding station where it was originally banded, or maybe at a remote migration station. Then we determine from that, after multiple catches, how long these birds live. If you talk about ruby-throated hummingbirds, because of the great numbers of those that have been banded, we know that they live 3 to 5 years, but there are records of ruby-throated hummingbirds that have lived up around 8 or 9 years. So it's to determine how long the various species live. One other thing that we learned from banding birds is productivity and survival. So we find out that on a breeding site that these birds survive from year to year and produce new young every year, and we're able to take that data and extrapolate it into some useful information about how long these birds survive and how productive are these birds. That brings up another reason that we band: habitat protection. By banding birds, we determine where these birds like to be, what kind of habitat they live in, and then we can take steps to protect those types of habitat so that we can ensure that these birds survive and on into the future. Another thing that we learn from banding birds is migration. How far do these birds migrate? What migration paths do they take? And these are by banding many birds and recatching these at different locations, and we began to determine something about their migration paths. For instance, on wintering hummingbirds, particularly Rufus hummingbirds, Rufus come into the southeast in the winter in small numbers. And by multiple catches of these birds and recaptures of these birds over the years, we sort of have a sense that a lot of these Rufus hummingbirds come across the Rockies, sort of on the northern part of the Rockies, into the northern U.S., take a southward pass, come down to the Gulf Coast, and then work their way back along the Gulf Coast and then across the Southwest back to their breeding grounds. So that's something we learned from that. Also on migration, we do have a record of a Rufus that was originally banded in Tallahassee, Florida, and that bird was caught a little over a year later in Alaska. And that bird had migrated a very, very long distance. And we find that this is not an unusual instance, but it takes a lot of banding effort to determine these kinds of statistics. Another thing that we learned from this is that banding is used for studying game birds, ducks, geese, that sort of thing. So a lot of banding is done there, and then when hunters are doing legal hunting in the right areas and they shoot a bird that has a band on it, they report this, and they're very good about reporting because they know that they are aiding in the study of these birds and making sure that in the future that they have birds to hunt. So those are many of the reasons that we have for banding birds.